It's now time for your favorite in-depth basketball show, Full Court Press, with the myth, the legend, Raindrops Glay!
You're tuned in to Full Court Press, your source for all the basketball talk you like to hear. I'm your host, Justin Raindrops Glay, and I'm joined by my co-host on this show, actually, the Nard Dogg himself. You heard from him last week, a little introduction to this guy. David Bernardi, how are you today, good sir?
I'm very good, thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. A lot of things happening in the NBA, but before we talk about the NBA, I need to talk about the NBL, the National Basketball League of Canada. I love this league. Big things are happening. We've got ourselves some champions. The Windsor Express are the league champions this season. They're the top dogs. They dethroned the Island Storm not too long ago. Congratulations to the Windsor Express. And Stephen Bono was named Finals MVP, so congrats to Steph. Well deserved. And Easter long weekend. What'd you do for Easter long weekend, David?
Nothing. I was actually home alone.
Home alone, so you're basically Macaulay Culkin for the weekend.
Yeah. I found out this weekend that we have raccoons living in our house.
Geez, that's not good at all. That's terrible.
In the attic?
Attic raccoons, those famous attic raccoons. You don't want to deal with those.
So got to take care of that problem.
Yeah, you don't really want to ignore that. You probably got to take care of that before the parents get home, man.
You don't want to wake up to a raccoon at your face?
No, not at all. There's actually a woman in Toronto just the other day. She woke up to find a snake in her bathroom. So I think, honestly, I'd take a raccoon over a snake, but if I could avoid both, that would be amazing. But I'll talk about Easter weekend. Easter weekend was actually NBL Canada's All-Star weekend in Charlottetown, PEI. A lot of big things went down. Ryan Anderson is the three-point shootout champion, and Cavell Johnson of the Brampton A's. He is the slam dunk champion. David, I see the look on your face. Yes, there is a player in the NBL named Ryan Anderson. I know there's a player in the NBA named Ryan Anderson too. I noticed that at first. That's what that look on your face was, wasn't it?
It's funny because the NBA Ryan Anderson is a three-point shooter as well.
Exactly. They just have that connection because they have the same name. It's awesome. Well, also this weekend, the season awards were handed out. Anthony Anderson is the league's MVP, the most valuable player on the season. Congratulations to him. Garrett Williamson is the Canadian Player of the Year, and I think it's really cool that there's a Canadian Player of the Year award because it's a Canadian league. They have the MVP of the entire league, then the best Canadian player. Because what some people might not know is that the NBLC, although it's a Canadian league, not that many players in the league are Canadian. There's a good number of Canadian natives in the league, but not everyone on each team's roster is from Canada. And also newcomer of the year is Justin Tubbs of the Ottawa Skyhawks. Rookie of the year, Raven Barber of the Halifax Rainmen. That's an awesome name, Raven Barber. That's great.
Wait, Justin Tubbs is a great name.
Justin Tubbs is a great name. There's a lot of fun names in the NBLC. I love it. And I mentioned Cavell Johnson. He won the dunk contest the All-Star Weekend. Congrats to him. Loved watching him play for the Brampton A's this year. He actually won the Defensive Player of the Year award. It's great because he is a block maestro. He's just a great defensive player, so congrats to him. Kirk Williams Jr. of the Mississauga Power, Captain Kirk, they like to call him, is the sixth man of the year. Congrats to him as well. And Coach of the Year is Bill Jones, of course, of the Windsor Express. He led his team to the finals, and they captured the gold, NBL Canada champions. So, you know what? Congratulations. Kudos to everyone involved in All-Star Weekend and everyone who picked up awards over the past couple of days. I know you don't really watch a lot of NBL Canada basketball action, David, but I've taken you to a few games. What do you think of the league?
I think it's fast-paced and great atmosphere from the fans. And yeah, the players are very talented.
Yeah, I know
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, because you hear about this league, it's not really that well known yet because it's only its next season will be its fourth year, I believe. So it's really in its infancy. But as the league grows more and more, you're going to attract more players. And there's some of these guys, one day I wouldn't be surprised to see them in the NBA, the biggest league, the biggest basketball league in the world. So it's going to be great to keep track of their development and see what happens with the league going forward. So I mentioned the NBA. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs, man. Like things are heating up, and it's great. I love it. Did you get a chance to see the Raptors' first game against the Brooklyn Nets? Of course, the one team we didn't want to face in the playoffs, that's who we're facing.
Yeah, it brings back memories to 2007 when they played the Nets, and the fans were fantastic.
Yeah, did you see Maple Leaf Square, as they like to call it now, Jurassic Park? Like the fans
Jurassic
were
Park.
wild. Yeah, even before the game, we were talking about this a lot after it happened. But Masai Ujiri, the greatest GM in sports, he's basically my hero right now. Dropped a huge F-bomb, and it basically directed that towards Brooklyn. So that was funny. That got the people riled up. What do you think about? Do you think do you think that was appropriate to say? Because he's the GM, you don't really want to take an unprofessional approach, but at the same time, you want to pump up your fans. So what do you think about all that?
The guy was just in the heat of the moment. He's just with all those fans that are cheering his team that he built and they're in the playoffs. They division champions, and like I understand getting the fine because obviously you can't say that stuff.
Exactly, you got to kind of keep yourself under control.
But like there's actually Raptors fans that think it's embarrassing what he said.
Yeah,
like come on.
It's not like you said. He's in the heat of the moment. He was just saying what he felt, and he's trying to get the people pumped up, get everybody excited before tip off, right?
Yeah.
And it's like originally the league, the NBA, they gave him a warning. So they weren't going to do anything. They're just, Masai, you know what? This is your first offense. We're giving you a warning. Just don't do something like this again. But now they fined him, what, it was like $25,000?
Yeah.
$25,000.
It's really strange. They give him the warning, and then a couple hours later, they rethink it, and that fine. But
yeah, I don't know, because there's a lot of I've heard a lot of speculation that the league looks down a little bit on the Toronto Raptors because the Raptors are the only Canadian team in the NBA. I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I don't want to stir the pot or anything, but maybe that's why they fined him. Maybe they just have a slight hate on for the Toronto Raptors.
And I'm not a big fan of Adam Silver either. He just looks really shady.
Yeah.
And he's been to a couple games where the Raptors have gone screwed, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That game against the Kings in Sacramento earlier this year when what was it? Lowry hit that shot and they didn't count it. They said it was an offensive foul.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's weird, some of the situations that happen, not just for the Raptors, because I don't want to be biased because we're big Raptors fans, but you see these phantom calls all around the league. Let's talk a little bit about the refs. Have a little referee rant, if you will.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I'm going to let you. The Nard Dog is unleashed right now. You're let off the leash. What are your thoughts on NBA referees?
I think they try to take over the game way too much. Just let the players play.
Yeah, we saw that a lot in Game 1 between the Raptors and Nets, especially. It's especially like when it's the playoffs, you let the guys play hard. You let them hit each other around. You gotta let that slide. But we saw so many foul calls, and even in the fourth quarter, there was
not one call on the Nets.
Not one at all. Yeah,
I don't think I've ever, like all my years watching basketball, I've never seen that happen before.
At the same time, and we've seen, I believe it was last season, the Raptors, they would lose by just a few points. They would lose by 1 or 2 points, and then the refs the next day would own up and say they missed a call. And it's like, your apology doesn't mean anything to us because it doesn't give us the win.
That happened at least 3 or 4 times last year.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And
we do not care about a league apology. Just call the game correctly.
Just call it fair and square, because that's your job as a referee, to be unbiased and I know their referees do play their part for superstars in the league. Like they're gonna help out LeBron James over say a DeMar DeRozan, even though DeMar's an all-star, and hopefully he's starting to earn the respect of referees. But you see that way too often. You see the referees play for the superstars.
Dwayne Wade, he's classic getting those calls.
It's ridiculous, some of the calls that they make. I know I've refereed before for house league basketball, and it's not an easy job. It's not easy to be a referee. It is a challenge. When you're playing the game, when you're on the court, it's easy to say, hey, this guy fouled me.
Were you reffing by yourself, or did you have others?
I had one other person reffing with me.
Did you have instant replay?
I wish the Oakville Basketball Club had instant replay.
This is another thing. There's been a bunch of Raptor games where the referees have instant replay right in front of them. They have the TV there, and they still get the call wrong. How does that make sense?
It doesn't really make any sense, but you could think that, like I said, maybe they're playing for a certain team, which.
The fix has always been in basketball referees.
You don't want to make these strong accusations without the concrete evidence, but we have seen a lot of examples of this in the past. So
there's that former referee. What's his name? Is it Tim Donaghy? Yes, Tim Donaghy. He admitted to fixing games.
Yeah, and he was fired and fined for it. And I think did he spend some time in jail? I think he actually did spend some time in jail.
18 months or something.
Yeah, he did. He did spend some time in prison for his role in fixing games, because you're tampering with the league. You're tampering with the honor of the league.
I don't think he's alone on this.
No, it wouldn't surprise me to see more and more referees come out and say and admit that they've done these things. But that's just the way it is. I don't know if it's ever going to change. If hopefully, maybe, I know you said you're not a big fan of Adam Silver as commissioner of the league, but hopefully things change going forward and he makes some differences.
The only good thing he's done is bring the All-Star game to Toronto.
Now that I'm excited about.
That was all Tim Lewicki.
Yeah, because he's got a huge pull. He's got a huge pull, Tim Lewicki.
And he's got a lot of money.
Exactly, and money certainly helps.
I remember Tim Donaghy, he had a list of games that were, I guess, fixed.
Yeah.
The Raptors were in one of those games.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's terrible. It's not fair to the fans, because the fans are paying good money to see these teams play live. It's not fair to the players, because the players are going out there, and most players in the NBA are letting it all out on the court. They're giving it their all, 110%. And to see a game fixed like that, it's like all their hard work and effort is for nothing, right?
One of the greatest games ever was fixed. The Sacramento Kings versus Los Angeles Lakers. I think it was 2000.
Yeah.
Game 7, Western Conference Finals, I believe.
It's crazy. It's crazy, especially in a game that's Western Conference Finals. It's not just a random regular season game. It's a game with so much on the line. You know, referees, sometimes they need to own up to their mistakes. Even when they do, the league needs to discipline them for those mistakes.
I would love it if they got fined.
Oh, it would be great. I think it would make sense, because you see someone like Masai Ujiri getting fined for dropping an F-bomb. He's an executive. How come a referee doesn't get fined for screwing up a game?
Oh, here's another thing. You can get a tap on the back and get a tech.
That's true. Yeah, you got to be very careful with referees. Because they control the game. That's the thing about referees. No matter how upset you get, you got to kind of keep yourself under control, because referees, they control your fate in a basketball game.
Like in the late 80s, early 90s, players used to get pushed around. There was never calls.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's like a lot of people. I've heard people say, "Oh, basketball is not a physical sport." Blah blah. Well, it is a physical sport.
You just can't do anything.
Exactly. You can't. Yeah.
You get called. You can get kicked out of the game.
I think there was one play. I'm pretty sure this was the Raptors and Nets game 1 when I was watching that game. I don't know if it was. I think it might have been Joe Johnson going up for a shot, and I think the call was on Kyle Lowry. I may be mistaken, so don't quote me on this. But I remember there was a call where I believe it was Johnson. He went up for a shot. He didn't even get hit. He might have just been his arm was probably just grazed, and they call a foul on him. And it's like, come on.
Oh, how about Darren Williams in the first quarter? Yeah, Darren Williams in the first quarter with covering Lowry.
Yeah,
and he flops.
It's ridiculous.
And he gets the call.
It's ridiculous, because it's game 1 of the playoffs. Like I was saying, like you mentioned the Kings and Lakers game way back when. There's so much on the line. This isn't just a regular season game, so referees really need to step it up. And they were making way too many calls in that first Raptors game. But then in the fourth quarter, like you said, no calls in the Raptors' favor during the fourth quarter.
Oh, how about that KG throwing or shoving Jonas Valanciunas?
Oh, yeah. Ground. That was ridiculous.
No call.
That was ridiculous. I was shocked. I didn't know what to say.
I think it was midway through the fourth quarter. A key part of the game.
Some of the things we see, hopefully, like I said, hopefully Adam Silver makes some changes as the league moves forward, as we go into next season. Hopefully the referees start to make some changes in the way they officiate games. I know, like I was saying, I've been a referee before. It's not an easy job. It's easy to make calls when you're a player and you get fouled and to call it out. But when you got the whistle, sometimes it's tough to see some of these things. But some of the calls NBA referees make, and not even just in the NBA, just in most sports, some of the calls referees make, they're very questionable. Hopefully things change. We're just gonna have to see what happens, right?
I think if there's any league that needs replacement refs, it's the NBA.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. Like I said, other leagues have problems with the referee, but the NBA referees, that they've gotten the most press out of it too. More people know about the problems with NBA referees. So, like I said, hopefully things change. We're gonna see what happens.
It's not just Raptors fans; it's every other.
Yeah, like I was mentioned earlier, I didn't want to be biased because we're Raptors fans, but you see this in all different teams around the league.
You see, was it Jeff Van Gundy in the playoffs this weekend? He was chirping the refs for making a terrible call. Yeah.
See, it's not just our treasured Toronto Raptors. It's like pretty much every team in the league.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter if you're the first place Indiana Pacers or you're at the bottom of the list. Doesn't matter. Like every team, I know they play for some superstars, the referees, but every team has to deal with these issues.
I don't understand those superstar calls.
Yeah, I find those kind of ridiculous.
That does not happen in any other sport.
I don't like it. I don't understand it. If
Even,
I was a referee, I wouldn't do it.
Even Kevin Garnett, who basically sucks now, he still gets superstar calls. How does that make sense?
It doesn't make it because he's he could still play the game, but let's be honest, he's past his prime.
The guy is nothing but a punk now.
Yeah, that's the thing it is. I like Garnett as a player for the most part.
I liked him when he was on the Timberwolves. That's about it.
Because he just turned into a dirty player now.
Once he went to the Celtics, he was just some cocky.
Yeah, just got cocky and got a little full of himself. But enough of that referee rant. We don't want to take too long on that. We could just do a full half hour on just bashing NBA referees. Like I said, to wrap it up, hopefully they make some changes, and we'll see what happens going forward. Now, in other NBA news, you brought this to my attention this morning. Popovich, Greg Popovich, San Antonio Spurs Coach of the Year. That's awesome.
Yep, third time in his coaching career.
Well deserving. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's one of the best coaches, not just in the NBA, but in basketball history. Spurs, top of the West. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the title this year.
Yeah, Greg Popovich, he's had 15 straight 50-plus win seasons.
He's an amazing coach because he joined the San Antonio Spurs in the 1996-1997 season, and they went 17-47. That's a terrible record.
That was a season David Robinson went out with that injury.
Exactly, and you saw the effects it had on the Spurs. They missed the playoffs that year. He hasn't Popovich's Spurs. They haven't missed the playoffs since. You look at that first year with the Spurs, 17-47. Now this season, they're killing it, 62-20 on the year. That's what they finished with the regular season.
And the thing is, they had so much injuries this year.
Exactly, because a lot of their big name players, like their big three, Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker, they're all older guys. Parker's the youngest out of all of them. So it's amazing that they've been able to accomplish this with of course the age struggles that they have, if you will. But these guys can still play. Tim Duncan plays like he's 20. Tim Duncan,
his first game of the playoffs, 27 points.
He's a beast. Would you agree that do you think he's the greatest power forward of all time, or at least one of them?
No question, he's the best.
He's the best. Yeah, I'm a huge Tim Duncan fan.
Yeah, there's Karl Malone, Moses Malone. He's just the best.
Yeah, Tim Duncan is the man. He's number 21 too, which most people know 21 is my favorite number. So,
is it now?
It is. Yeah, I love Tim Duncan. So big, kudos to Greg Popovich for winning Coach of the Year, and another award. One of my favorite players, if not my favorite big man in the league, Joakim Noah is Defensive Player of the Year. I'm a huge Joakim Noah fan. I've loved him ever since he was a rookie. I've actually gotten the chance to see him play live, and I have so much respect for him because I remember there's this one moment. I think Hedo Turkoglu, because this is when Turkoglu was on the Raptors. Turkoglu got called for a foul, and he was just complaining, being all loud and boisterous. Joakim Noah got called for a foul. He pulls the referee aside and just, calmly talks to him and asks why he got the call and everything. And I was like, man, this is what every NBA player should be like. I love Joakim Noah. Congratulations to him.
He's the heart and soul of the Bulls.
Man,
without him and they're without Rose, right?
Exactly. Yeah, Rose has been out for a long time.
He's their leader now.
Yeah, Joakim Noah is the face of Chicago basketball these days.
Who would have thunk that?
Yeah, who would have thunk?
A guy with the name Joakim Noah.
Joakim Noah, he's a Frenchman, and I'm French, so there we go. There's that bond.
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark.
Well,
Noah's Ark is the Chicago Bulls.
He does have his dad was a professional tennis player.
He was, yeah, and I believe his mom was a professional athlete as well. Yeah, I'm a big Joakim Noah fan.
Great genes.
Yeah, no, for sure. He's one of those guys. When you watch NBA games on TV, everyone looks like no one looks super tall because you're watching it on TV. But when you go to some games live, like I'm not short, really that short myself. Neither are you, David. But Joakim Noah, he's actually a giant when you see him live. He's like 7 feet tall. He's a beast. He's fun to watch, but he's got the speed and agility of a smaller player, which you rarely see in a big man.
Yeah, I think they have a really good chance to go into the conference finals.
I wouldn't.
Even though they lost Game 1 to the Wizards, I still think they're going to win that series.
I wouldn't be upset to see Chicago. I want to see Chicago Bulls versus Toronto Raptors, and those are my two favorite teams in the East. going at it. That'd be great.
Yeah, that could happen in the conference finals, but
You never know.
Raptors have to get through the Miami Heat.
Yeah, well, stranger things have happened. Crazy things happen in the NBA.
Yeah, we're basically predicting that Raptors make it to the next round.
Yeah, let's
Thank you, Charles Barkley.
Yeah, let's talk about Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley loves Toronto, and therefore I love Charles Barkley, even though I've always been a fan of his.
Yeah, Charles Barkley was this week. Everyone's like saying the Nets are going to win this series now.
Yeah.
And then Barkley a couple nights ago on Inside the NBA, he says he's sticking with the prediction. He's still picking the Raptors.
Charles Barkley's always been a huge Raptors fan. It's awesome to
He
see.
loves Toronto. He loves the city.
Well, who doesn't? Toronto's an amazing city. Raptors are a great team. And yeah, the Raptors, especially because we were talking about the referees. It wasn't just the referees' fault that the Raptors lost. The Raptors had a terrible game. I'm going to admit it. The Raptors had an awful game. Their playoff experience, there's no playoff experience with like any of these players except for John Solomons, I believe.
John Solomons, I believe Lowry's played for
Nando
Memphis.
DeColo's probably played during his time in San Antonio. Not much, but he's still got some playoff experience. But you could tell that the Nets have way more experience than the Raptors, and that hurt the Raptors big time. So I think after that loss, they've probably watched the tape of that game many times, and I think they're gonna play in Game 2, and the rest of the series just firing on all cylinders, and they're gonna win this series.
Apparently, DeRozan the next day he sat in his room all day just doing nothing. He didn't have the TV on. He just sat there.
He just had to think. Yeah, DeMar had a weak Game 1. I'm
3
hoping
for 13 from the field.
It's just those are just first playoff game jitters, I guess.
Yeah.
I hope he steps it up. I have the confidence that he's gonna do great in this series, and he's gonna help lead the Raptors past the Nets into the second round.
Vince Carter had a terrible first playoff game, 3 for 20.
And look how the rest. Look at that. How that went. Obviously, we didn't win a championship, but he obviously played very well. So yeah, I'm excited for the rest of the NBA playoffs. All the teams. The games have been exciting and fast so far. It's going to be great to see how things all turn out and see who the NBA champions are come June.
So who's winning the MVP?
Who's winning the league MVP?
I've already announced it.
Yeah, you made a post on Facebook not too long ago. This is exactly what you said.
An hour ago.
Congrats to Kevin Durant on being named the NBA's MVP next week. You're that sure that Durant's winning it?
Yeah, just watching that play from last night.
The 4-point play? If you guys haven't seen it, go on YouTube and just type in Kevin Durant 4-point play in the playoffs 2014. Unreal.
The shot he made is something that you would do in a playground.
Yeah, it's one of those crazy street ball shots.
Yeah, and it was a 4-point play. It brought them back into the game and went to overtime.
Exactly.
Sadly, they didn't win, but
I think, you know what? If it's between LeBron and Kevin Durant, but I think Kevin Durant's had a better year. I don't know. I think the Heat might go further in the playoffs than the Oklahoma City Thunder, but I think Kevin Durant has a very strong chance of being league MVP.
I think just the fact that the Heat struggled a lot at the end of the season, LeBron's not going to get it this year.
That's just what's going to happen. Well, before we wrap things up, Nard Dogg, I want to hit a few other points. The New York Knicks fired Mike Woodson. That's not surprising at all. We all knew that was going to happen.
Somehow he lasted that long. Was it 3 years?
2-3 years, I think.
Yeah, he was terrible on Atlanta, and he's not a good coach.
He's not.
He never was.
Probably a great human being, but he's not a good basketball coach.
There's a word around the league that they're going to interview Steve Kerr for the job.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. I don't know if he's going to turn the Knicks around, because the Knicks are just in
great
shambles
commentator
all the time. Great commentator, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if he could turn the Knicks around, because the Knicks have good players. They've always had good players, but they have all the puzzle pieces, but they can't seem to put the puzzle pieces together and become a cohesive unit that they could be.
Do you know who I see being their next coach in the Knicks? Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson?
I think if the Warriors play terrible in this round against Clippers,
they're going to fire him. They're going to
fire him.
Jackson get hired on.
And because of his connection being on the Knicks.
That would make sense. Yeah, the history. Yeah. That would be kind of cool. But
he's kind of a New York kind of guy. So.
Yeah, you never know what could happen. But with the Knicks, as I was saying, you can't really tell what's going to happen with the Knicks because they're so unpredictable.
Basically, screw the Knicks.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. And they're Toronto's one of Toronto's rivals in the Atlantic Division. So
they're the biggest rivals the Raptors have ever had.
Yeah. So you know what? Best of luck, but at the same time, no luck to the Knicks. And speaking of coaching, Rick Adelman retired.
Yep, it's pretty sad.
Yeah, Rick Adelman, he just years in the league. So many years in the league. One of the best coaches of all time.
He coached the best team that's never won a championship, the 2000 Kings.
Those Kings, yeah, that was great line. If I'm not mistaken, that line, it was Doug Christie, Mike Bibby, Vlade Divac, Peja Stojakovic, and
Chris Webber.
And Chris Webber.
How could you forget Chris Webber?
I forget the big name right there. I was just thinking about all the memories from.
They just retired his jersey.
Yeah, Chris Webber. Sorry, C. Webb. My mistake, my friend. But that lineup was great. Rick Adelman, like I said, one of the best coaches in NBA history. He's one of 8 coaches in league history to get 1,000 plus wins. That's insane.
They win the championship if they get past the Lakers that year.
Yeah, but the past is in the past. We got to say congratulations to Rick Adelman, and I wish him a happy retirement. I hope you wish him the same. Yeah,
flawless career
for Rick Adelman. He's a true coaching legend, and he's going into the Hall of Fame one day. That's for sure.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah, he has to be. That wouldn't make any sense if he didn't go into the Hall of Fame. So a lot of big things happening. We are actually short on time, so we got to wrap things up. Nard Dogg, anything else you want to talk about?
Eric Williams.
Eric Williams. How could I forget? We're talking about the Knicks, how we don't like the Knicks. They're weak. They're struggling. Eric Williams is struggling in life right now, I guess, apparently.
Yeah. And you think he's traded for Vince Carter. Rob Babcock trades Vince Carter for an actual bum. A guy who's living on the street.
Yeah, Eric Williams is apparently living on the streets, and Rob Babcock still thinks that's an amazing trade. I was like, are you kidding me? We traded the best player in franchise history up to that point, and probably still to this day the best player that the Toronto Raptors have ever had. We traded Carter away for Eric Williams, Aaron Williams, someone no one had really ever heard of.
What's that guy up to?
I have no idea. No one knows. I don't know. I have no idea. And, of course, Alonzo Mourning, who refused to play for the Raptors. It was a terrible trade, Rob Babcock. If you're listening to this, it was a terrible decision that you made back in the day.
He drafts Joey Graham over Danny Granger. Nice.
Classic Rob Babcock. Well, that brings us back to Masai Ujiri. Thank goodness for Masai, because he is Toronto's savior.
He's the Messiah.
That's how you end a show, on a pun like that.
He's the Messiah.
He is the Messiah. In Masai Ujiri we trust. Masai, thank you. You are a king and a champion. We're big fans of yours. Nard Dogg, before we wrap it up, do you have Twitter? Plug it. Like anything you want to plug, Twitter, website, anything you got.
Yeah. Just follow me on Twitter at the Nard Dogg 88.
The Nard Dogg 88, and of course
that's with 2 G's at the end.
Nard Dogg, you like to mix things up and separate yourself from the pack. That's that's the Nard Dogg world order way, right?
It's the Nard Dogg way, yeah.
The Nard Dogg way. And of course, you guys, if you don't know, you can follow me on Twitter at JustinGoulet21. And if you want to listen to past episodes of Full Court Press, go to Mixcloud.com and just go to the search engine, type in Full Court Press, and voila. You guys are amazing. Thank you for listening. David Bernardi, thank you so much for joining me. Nard Dogg out. There we go. All right, we will catch you guys next week.
You've just been hit with Full Court Press. Courtesy of your host, the man, the myth, the legend, Justin Raindrops Goulet.